Ground power in the Airbus 320 is just as simple as any other airplane. First of all, make sure that the green power light is on, and after that, push the button. And that's it. And let everything boot up as normal. The A320, once the ground power switch is on, and after waiting for it to boot up for a little bit, this is how it looks. Same getup as any other modern airliner. Now, one thing I will show you about this aircraft is schematic pages. Down here, we have different schematic pages. Now, this kind of system is also on the 777 and the 747-400 and any other modern technically advanced aircraft. So, on the Airbus 320, 300, and 310, all the Airbuses has an ECAM. It's not similar to a multifunctional display, but it operates differently. This, I'm going to show you the different pages. The first page is the door page. When they're in amber like this, that means the doors are open. When it's green, that means the doors are closed. Next one, engine page. Oil quantity, vibration of the outer fan, the inner fan, oil pressure. Next, the bleeder page, left engine, right engine, APU, left and right, actually left and right packs, and these are the engines, air ducts. This is coming from the ground. This is if it was coming from the APU. Intermediate pressure valve, high pressure valve, those are in the engines. This is in Celsius because of this company choosing it to be Celsius. Pressurization page, delta P, that's the differential pressure, pressure from the outside of the cabin versus the inside of the cabin. Vertical speed in hundreds of feet, the cabin going up in altitude or down in altitude. Cabin altitude itself. This is the avionics bay, inlet and outlet. That's how it cools the air, cools the avionics bay, the E&E compartment. Electrical system, basic electrical system, left bus, right bus, essential buses, DC and AC. To this, the external power is connected, so that's why we see the voltage here. 115 volts, 400 hertz. Hydraulics page, green, blue, and yellow, and the PTU, that's how it's named in the Airbus, green, blue, and yellow. In Boeing, it can be many others, but this one is blue, green, blue, and yellow. Fuel page, when it's in amber like this, that means it's off or closed. When it's in green, that means it's on. Unless this one, except for this one, because this one is turned like this, so that's another indication when it's turned. APU page, speed of the APU and the exhaust and the bleed pressure. Wheels, 3 green indication, and the doors are open. And flight controls page. That's it. A320 APU page while the APU is actually running. As you can see, 98% N1, the EGT of the exhaust, which is the exhaust gas temperature coming off the APU itself. Percentage, voltage, and hertz, and the PSI that's coming out. The flap is open. That's the inlet where the air go into the APU, and this means that the APU is available. The power is available, and it is indeed giving it. As you can see here. Remember in my other one, the external power was giving it. Now this one, the APU is giving the power. And then we'll look at the fuel. You can see the APU fuel pump is open. And right here you can see that the APU bleed valve is open. The unique thing about the A320 and the A330 is the throttles. Now, the throttles here are actually clips that pull up. They're not actual levers like on the Boeings that people might be used to. So actually, when you put the reverse thrust, you got to pull up and it comes back. Then to go back, what it does is it clips back down once it gets to this position. So that's the one unique thing about the A320 that I can tell you. Now, what's happening right now is the IRS is aligning. Now, you've seen that in my 767 video, and the way you do it is the same way. These three need to be in nav. And down here, you're going to hear a ping, and then this button right here is going to have Align IRS. You push the button, and then you just wait for it to pop up. Okay, before I couldn't show you the operation of this throttle, or the reverse thrusters, because the engines were being worked on. So, now that the engines are removed, I can actually show you the throttles. So, forward, everybody knows forward and back. But, in this one, like I said before, the clip's got to pull up. So you pull up there, the clips, it releases it, and you can bring it back like that. Then, when it gets to the detent, like I told you, right over here, all you go is there. And that's it. Alright, now in this segment I will show you how to start the APU from the battery as well as from what it looks like from the external ground power. So, first thing, we're going to do the battery. So, battery switches are right over here. It's bat 1 and bat 2. So, push the button in, bat 1 first, then bat 2. Then, come over here, is the master switch. Now the master switch is what controls the flap, or the inlet door. So you push that button in first, you wait 5 seconds, literally 5 seconds, that gives it enough time for the flap to open, and then, once the 5 seconds are up, you push the start switch down here. And then it'll spool up on its own, spool up and come online all on its own. See, once online, this is what it looks like, just like in the other segment of this video that I showed you. Shut it off. All you do is push the master switch button. And that's how it shuts off. Now to show you how it looks like and what to look for when the external power is already connected. Now as you see, the external power is already on. Now, the same procedure has to be taken place. Okay? Both batteries need to be on. Okay, obviously the external power is already in. Push the master switch button. Now you come down here to the lower ECAM page and you'll notice the flap open. You wait for that to be on. Once that is on, then you push the master switch, the start switch again. And let's watch. See, APU power is now available. Notice up here, these two fault lights on. These two fault lights are for the packs, for pack 1 and pack 2. In the Airbus, it doesn't label it left and right. It labels them 1 and 2. So, to get those online, what you have to do is you got to open the bleed air valve, just like in any other jetliner. So all you got to do is push this button. Pack's fault life comes on because, goes off because the packs are getting air and the packs can be thus turned on. This ECAM page is the last one that I forgot to show you in the real plane. So, right here is the air conditioning page. The air conditioning page is split into 3 sections: cockpit, forward, and aft. And in here is what is set 24, and over here is what's actually being put in there, which in this case is actually 24. So this is degrees Celsius, because Airbus is French and they use the metric system. Although American airline can ask for it in the English system. So I'm the IRS, like I mentioned in the real aircraft. What you gotta do is come up here to the IRS panel. You gotta move these 3 switches into nav. Okay, those are all in the nav position. Then come down here. To the FMC. Click your NetRef, and then you click the Align IRS button. Now, on the real plane, there's a ping. In this aircraft, in this product, for some reason, there's no ping. So, in any case, you push the button, Align IRS, and the computer will do the rest. First thing, before starting the engine, you gotta make sure to turn on these fuel pumps up here. So, push the fuel pumps in. Turn on the beacon right over here for safety. And the strobe and the nav light. Engine startup. Engine startup in the Airbus 320 is actually extremely simple compared to other airplanes. The A320 and up are very simple to start. So, first thing you gotta do is you gotta come down here next to, or right behind the throttles actually. It's the little knob right here. Okay? Crank, norm, and ignition start. We're going to put it in ignition start. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to flip this switch to the on position. And of course, make sure your parking brake is applied. And we'll watch it start up. It starts up all on its own. It adds the fuel on its own, and it cuts off the starter on its own too. As long as everything in the system is working perfectly. Okay, it looks like that startup was okay. Now we go to the next one. Same thing. And actually, what you can do is leave this knob right here. Leave it in the ignition start because it knows when to cut it off, like I said. So, next button, or excuse me, next switch, you turn on the start position. There you go. Oh, N1, 19.2% EGT, N2, fuel flow. This is actually the flap indication. Matter of fact, I'll show you how it looks right now. So I'm going to put the flaps all the way down. S is slat, which is the leading edge device. The leading edge is the front of the wing. Flap is behind the wing. Slat has to come down all the way first before the flap can come down. Alright. Fuel on board, 2,400 kilograms. Now, about this one, fuel used, oil quantity. This is the pressure inside the engine, which is something unique to Airbus, at least the A320, and up. This is the degrees Celsius of the air, vibration of N1 and N2. In the Boeing, particularly like in the bigger Boeings, it shows the vibration of the engine in general, rather than specifically N1 and N2. So the fan blade on the outside gives a separate vibration indication, and N2 gives a separate vibration indication. Of course, once the engines are started, don't forget to put that switch back into the norm position. Like I said, there's no actual reverse thrusters on the Airbus 320, so what you have to do is pull these up and bring it back. I'm going to show you right now how it actually looks. Even though I showed you in the real plane, this one, it looks a little bit better than what I did. See? Put these clips up, bring the throttles back, and then to bring it back to idle, you just push the throttles forward, and then these can unlock back into the normal position. I'll show you the takeoff configuration warning, what it sounds like, and what indications you see for the A320. So, if you've seen my 767 N2 caution range video, you'll notice that the reasons for the takeoff config warning is the same. Auto brakes not set, flaps not set, etc. So, push the throttles full forward with the parking brake on, flaps up, which means we're not in takeoff configuration, and this is what we look at. See? Master caution, and you get an indication right here on the ECAM, excuse me, master warning. Takeoff not in configuration. Well, put it back to idle, and of course it goes away. Now the neat thing about the ECAM is that it shows what you need to know at that time. Of course you can override it by pushing the buttons you need, but generally speaking it does what you need right there. Like right now, the aircraft is ready, set to go, and it gives you a brief takeoff checklist. Auto brakes, signs, captain's ready, cabin ready, etc., etc. Okay? Now, Airbus 320 is a fly-by-wire system, which means that there's no actual physical cables going to the flight controls. Even the engines are just signals going through a cable. So, in the case of emergencies, where the pilot isn't doing the appropriate response, the plane takes over. So, I'll show you one right now. Okay? We're going to put up right there. I just showed you right now. It's going to stall, and I didn't even push the throttles forward, but the computer pushed the throttles forward for me. Okay? Now, to get that off, what you'd have to do is you got to push the throttles full forward physically, and then when it's back in a safe range, as far as speed is concerned, it will give you back control of the aircraft. But I'm going to show you now what it looks like when I'm too slow. Now that warning is actually the overspeed warning. Why? Because I decided to put the flaps down at this high speed. Now I'm doing this here because it's the simulator and not the real plane. Don't do it in the real plane because you'll damage the flaps and the flight controls. Okay? Okay, now I'm going to keep in a straight and level position as best as I can. And I'm going to let the airspeed go real low. And watch what happens and watch what you hear. Okay, the aircraft's engines are at idle. Ground idle. Not even at flight idle. Ground idle. Flight idle is about 10% or so above ground idle. See? Little green arc came up, and it pushed the engines forward without me even touching the throttles. See, now we're out of the safe range. Now, what I gotta do is push the throttles forward physically. And then I'll give you back power at control of the aircraft. Now, that was when we had the gear up. Now let's see what happens, or what here, when we put the gear down. Oh, the gear's going to come down. Remember, this is the simulator, so I'm breaking all the speed limits here. So don't do this in a real plane. Of course. Now we are in what's known as the landing configuration. No. Free green. Gears down. Flaps full. Now, watch what happens and watch what indications and what sounds we get.
Speed.
See?
Speed.
You got a speed warning. Now, speed warning. Oh, see, there you go. Speed warning, giving it long enough, the engines will push forward. That speed warning means you're too slow. You're about to stall. Now that sound, that's indication, that speed warning, only comes when you're really close to the ground in landing configuration.